Bernie Madoff led the largest Ponzi scheme ever by stealing $65 billion from investors over the course of approximately 20 years, but maybe even longer. But how was this possible? Especially when there was evidence brought to the SEC against Madoff on numerous occasions. First, let's look at how a Ponzi scheme works. A Ponzi scheme works by attracting new clientele whose money becomes the original clientele's returns. In order to satisfy the return for all of the investors, more and more new clientele are required, which makes the overall structure look like a pyramid scheme. The difference between a pyramid and a Ponzi scheme is that a pyramid scheme relies on the marketing and sales of the one who operates the pyramid scheme. Marketing from the top, an example of Bernie Madoff, marketing to every single individual. A Ponzi scheme relies on the people involved to attract new clientele. Madoff's clients were very rich and had many friends that they wanted to tell how rich they were becoming because of Madoff, and this is where Madoff's clientele asked new clientele to become a part of an exclusive club by investing in Madoff. Bernie was a young Jewish boy from Queens, New York, who graduated from Hofstra College with a degree in political science in 1960. His future looked bright when he married his high school sweetheart and started working as a market maker for his wife's father. A market maker is essentially someone who brings together buyers and sellers to make trades on assets. During this time, however, Madoff and two of his friends started to act as investment advisors, and they were unregistered. Madoff handled the bigger clients, and his two employees, Avelino and Viennes, they handled the smaller clients. From the 70s to the early 90s, Madoff was doing two major activities. The first activity, paying for order flow, was legal. This activity consisted of Madoff paying for people to make trades with him in his market. The second activity was not legal, and this was his investment firm named Bernard L. Madoff Investment Securities, LLC. During this time, the number of individuals who were investing with Bernie was growing at a large rate because of the investors feeling proud to have received such large returns. But in reality, Madoff was just printing artificial numbers on hard copy reports and then mailing them to investors who left their money where it was because they thought they were actually getting a real large return, although these statements were indeed false. In 1999, a gentleman named Henry Markopoulos starts to look into how Madoff is making so much money with not a lot of losses. He finds evidence and is able to prove that Madoff is acting unethical within 4 hours of studying Madoff's trade histories. Markopoulos submitted his findings to the SEC in 2000, 2001, 2005, 2007, and 2008, but the SEC did not listen or take action. There were some very unlikely trends that Madoff reported which Markopoulos found when investigating him. First, Madoff only reported 4 months of losses out of 14 years of investing. Second, and probably the biggest red flag, was that Madoff was reporting options trading volumes that were from 7 to 65 times the size of the entire market. Madoff eventually cracked under the pressure and the realization that he was actually destroying people's lives. This led him to turn himself into the authorities after taking his 2 sons. On June 9, 2009, he was sentenced to 150 years in prison. And one of his famous quotes in consideration of his Ponzi scheme was that it was all one big lie.